Escape to the Metaverse. Better act like you know. Yeah. You are now tuned into the Matthew and Rizzle show. Yeah. Escape to the Metaverse. Better act like you know. Yeah. You are now tuned into the Matthew and Rizzle show. Yeah. Escape to the Metaverse. Better act like you know. You are now tuned into the Matthew and Rizzle show. Yeah. Escape to the Metaverse. Better act like you know. You are now tuned into the Matthew and Rizzle show. Yeah.
Hey everyone, before we begin this week's episode of the Matthew and Rizzle Show, just want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, Proof of Beauty. Proof of Beauty is an experimental digital experience studio. The blockchain is their canvas and the tokens are their brush. You can learn more about Proof of Beauty by checking out pob.studio. You can follow them on Twitter as well at PRRF Beauty. That's PRRF Beauty on Twitter and pob.studio on their homepage to learn more about their projects like Hash, London, and Publico. Thank you and enjoy the show.
Okay, we're live. This is Matthew, and I'm back with Rizzle for another special interview on the Scent podcast. Today, we're really excited to be speaking with two folks who are building out the Sandbox, the user-generated virtual reality game platform built for the Metaverse. We're joined by Sebastian, who is co-founder and COO of the Sandbox, as well as Nathan, who is head of marketing and growth. Welcome to the show, boys.
Hello.
Well, if both of you want to introduce yourselves just to let everyone at home know who you are, and then if one of you wants to give us a little history about where the Sandbox has come from.
Yep, definitely. So my name is Sebastian Borget. I'm the CEO and co-founder of the Sandbox. This is my fourth company founded with my partner Archo Madrid. We started in 2007 together. First company was developing a plugin for browsers using one of the very first applications of decentralization, which was peer-to-peer technology using BitTorrent. This company we sold 2 years after to a CDN network. Then we started an online media, photo, video, and music upload and stream in the cloud to share with your friends. Sold this as well, and in 2011 we started our third company, which is Rizzle, a mobile game studio, which was focused on creating builder games with IPs and brands involving like Snoopy, Garfield, Goosebumps, Adam's Family, and also having our own user-generated content to the single-player mobile game, which is the original Sandbox that we started in 2012. Rizzle was acquired in 2018 by Animoca Brands, also a game company based in Hong Kong, and one of the pioneers in the space of blockchain games and NFTs. And we launched more recently as our fourth company, TSB Gaming, which is solely focused on the development of this new Sandbox virtual world, which is 3D, based on voxel, multiplayer, multi-platform, and using blockchain technology to empower creators and gamers to monetize their creations, voxel asset and voxel games through NFTs and our cryptocurrency Sand.
That's awesome. And then Nathan, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us what you're doing at the Sandbox?
Sure. Thanks for having us. So I'm leading the marketing and growth at the Sandbox, and I have more of a financial / blockchain background. I joined before that Consensus around 3 years ago through the lenses of fintech, where I was leading marketing efforts at a startup, a spoke called Variable, doing so derivatives on Ethereum. So we were doing DeFi basically before it was cool, and even known. And yeah, so after two years working on this, with of course my side passion being, video games, being a video game player for since I'm a little child. I joined the Sandbox around a year ago, where, as I mentioned, I'm leading all the marketing and growth efforts, as well as working on some tokenomics, helping out on the setting up these the land pre-sales, the land design, and design of basically economics around the tokens for the Sandbox.
Cool. And in a little bit, I have some questions on the token economics of the Sandbox, because I think there's like 5 different tokens, and I think they all play a pretty integral part. But before we dive deeper into the game, I think having a higher level overview of the platform that you guys are building would be really important. So as I understand it, there's 3 core layers, if you will, to the Sandbox. There's that first layer of the Vox edit, then there's the marketplace, and then there's the game maker. There's quite a lot of components, and I'm just wondering if one of you would like to kind of break down each of those layers of the Sandbox and explain their role in the overall product.
Yeah, you're right. So essentially, the Sandbox platform is like a virtual world that runs on 3 main components to empower creators and really give them the ownership of their creation and this possibility to monetize their skills and time. On the first component is called Vox Edit. It's a standalone desktop software that allows you to make 3D model in voxel, and it's quite unique. It's only free software on the market that also allows to animate them. So think of it like a 3D creation tool that you can make creation and export them and use them across the board in many other software. It could be Unity, it could be even in Minecraft. But you can also publish this content on our marketplace, which is an online website available at www.sandbox.game. And that's where the magic happens, and those 3D model becomes game items with attribute and rarity, scarcity applied to them, and they are tokenized as non-fungible tokens on the blockchain, enabling the users to own them, trade them, and monetize them. This is the second component. And the third component, last component, is the game maker and player, which is going to be multi-platform. At the moment, it's a desktop software only in the alpha stage, so we haven't yet launched it, and it allows you to create games and game experience in your lands, which is a digital space, and using the content from the marketplace or made with Vox Edit. So what we provide is a user-generated content tool chain where you can create the content, sell it, monetize it, and play with it, essentially.
Dude, that's fascinating. The whole economics and everything. I'm just curious. So it seems like at this point, you guys, your target audience are builders and creators and people who are they've already scooped up a ton of your land and are chomping at the bit to do interesting projects on that land. I am not a builder or a creator, and I'm even scared to dive down that rabbit hole. But I do lurk in a lot of these digital worlds and everything. So. Curious to know what your guys' vision is for people like myself. I play video games. I grew up with video games. What type of cool stuff do you envision people making for the casual user who's not necessarily creatively inclined to build something?
That's a great question. And down the line, the vision of Sandbox is to be a mainstream game, even putting the blockchain and the crypto side aside. We want to provide a fun, compelling, deeply immersive experience that will be similar to the kind of a social MMORPG where anyone can come, can play, can chat, interact with each other. And as such, we have identified 4 main categories of users. There's the players, the creators, the artists, and the landowners. So definitely as a player, we are working to provide the fun and the experience so that you can enjoy participating in our platform. without being necessarily yourself a creator. You will get an avatar. With this avatar, you can customize it with skins, with outfits, visually to make it really yours. And you can equip it with equipment. And with avatar, you can play several games made by the creators. Level him up, improve its equipment, participate into quests, and have a sort of meta gameplay that really drive you to play again and participate to community-based goals, come back regularly, and be involved in the life of the platform. And because we are so focused on the play to earn mechanism that's made possible through the use of blockchain technology, even if you're not familiar with crypto, and as 99.99% of players, that's how you should be, you'll be able to learn progressively and potentially earn through the skills and time you devote in the game. And that's the main value proposition for players.
So to sum it up, maybe so two main categories here. So for players, for people like that are not creators, that will be in the long run our main targets. By the way, so two main categories again. I think the first one is social experiences. As Seb mentioned, you'll have avatars, you'll have places to interact with other players. You have also what we call today dioramas, like places like in your land where you can simply go visit and basically interact. And we already have basically partners that are interested, by the way, in creating, not necessarily games, but more like places where people and players can just come and hang out. And I think it's very trendy right now, by the way, on all the VR platforms that we can see. And the second one will be, all the games created by other players. So that will be accessible to, all players. And those will be, we believe at first, mini games that will be fun to play. And as also Sam mentioned, that will allow you to potentially earn by playing. So several aspects I think will be interesting for casual players.
I'm curious, how do you distinguish between a creator and an artist? How would the two different categories of users interact or engage with the Sandbox differently?
Yeah, so right now it's quite simple in the sense that we call artists people that create voxel assets. So basically those who download our Voxelit software that create voxel assets, and we've been working with such artists for years now. Since basically the creation, it has always been one of our main focus. Work closely with artists, and you can see already on our marketplace that is live that a lot of assets are uploaded and created on the daily basis. And on the other hand, we have creators. So creators are it's a bit confusing, but internally we call creators. Those will be the ones creating games per se. So the ones we're having contacts with at the moment to help them create their project for their games and to be ready for when the game maker will be released, to assist them in their creation and also gather feedback from them to better tailor our upcoming game maker and stuff like that. So this is the main distinction.
And then I guess the last player category will be the landowners. And maybe while we're kind of unpacking the landowners' role in everything, as individuals, but then as collectives and making districts and things like that throughout the game, maybe we could tie in some of the tokenomics of how the different tokens will kind of play into landowners' earning money, how that will kind of trickle down to the other types of users who are engaging in the game. If you want to start with unpacking the landowner's role, and then how they will be able to earn and go from there.
Yeah, so talking about token economics, we've mentioned one token already, which is the land token, which is a non-fungible token. So an ERC 721 issued on the Ethereum blockchain. We'll have a definite number of those lands. So the total amount of 100,000, like 464 lands in total. And we'll never have more lands than this amount. Every land is unique and purchasable by the users, and those users will be able to build on top of those lands. So at first, it will be also a proof of ownership in the sense that people that have land will be able to access the game and start building. But so this is the first token that we have and that we've issued on our platform. The second one that is soon coming is the assets. So those are another standard still developed on the Ethereum blockchain, which is an ERC 1155, which is basically a token that have several copies. So basically, when an artist creates an asset on our platform, so let's say a dragon, so it's unique. So there is one dragon like that, but you have like 10 copies, so you can place it 10 times in different games or stuff like that. So these are the second types of tokens that you can place into your lands. Those assets are user generated, so created by users using the first product that we've mentioned, which is the voxelate, later imported into the marketplace and later usable and into your land. So this is the second token. And then the upcoming ones are the Sand token, which is going to be the ERC20 token, which is going to allow players to pay within the marketplace. So it is going to be at first a payment token, but then also a governance token, allowing landowners, players, creators to vote, but also be rewarded. So we can imagine mechanisms where landowners will make users pay for their creations to access their games, for instance, or maybe artists that will also sell their creations for sand. So this will be the main currency in the future of the ecosystem. And we also have other tokens not yet released, such as the gem token that will, enable the creators to manage the scarcity and rarity of their assets. So a lot of tokens like this one, not yet released and upcoming.
Holy crap, dude. This is like an insanely deep and complex economic system. I mean, it's cool, man. This is how you create like real like world experiences in depth into the universe that you're making. Curious to know, like, what was your inspiration for creating, so many tokens for these different purposes? Are there certain models that you guys have sort of, used to stylize this after?
Yeah, but obviously we're in a space of user-generated content. So it's a platform where all the content is essentially made by the users, and content is king. We are just providing the distribution and the user base to consume that content. So in UGC-based economies, we also have to support all the participants in the ecosystem to keep creating new content, providing all fresh display and addition. And we also have to incentivize the players and the base to consume this content. So that's essentially how we've been driving the economics and mechanics of our platform. And by the combination of NFTs that cover both UGC and lands and avatars, and the use of utility tokens that serve as medium of transaction, but also for governance, for curation, for staking mechanism, we are building this system that we think is going to be the prevailing in Sandbox adoption. And this is just the base layer, the tip of the iceberg. What I think is going to be amazing through this adoption also is like we are creating a decentralized world where progressively the users can also build their own rules. They can create DAOs. They can manage the content and the economy of their games in ways that do not require us to be necessarily involved. So it's the opposite of like what the current UGC games provide, being very centralized in how games are made, are built and played, and the players or the creators are rewarded for their participation. So that's very exciting, and we are pioneers in the space, and this is just the premise. Like, we haven't yet fully launched. This will be happening later toward the end of this year. But we can see already some excitement around the value proposition creating and all the game making and games that we're showcasing on a regular basis through our social media, Medium, etc.
It's really cool. The one thing that has me, well, there's like a million things that have me excited about the Sandbox. There's literally too many things to talk about. But I mean, obviously the game experiences that will be able to be built out and that users will be able to engage in has me really excited, because, as I think Nathan was the one that mentioned, the social experiences that are sort of like already like live or available in not just like the Sandbox, but the other blockchain-based virtual worlds, like having those social experiences that people can fashion up already, just as long as they have a certain number of people, of users that are like simultaneously in the world with them, having the ability to go from like something that's more professional, let's say like a conference type experience, to an after party where you're playing a video game in world. I just feel like that is going to be absolutely epic, and I can't wait for that. But we have these other projects like CryptoVoxels, Decentraland, Somnium Space that are all doing their own thing in the space and the Sandbox. I'm curious if you could give me an argument in a future where, for some reason, there's only one blockchain-based virtual world that survives. Why would Sandbox be the one left standing?
Well, first, to put it clear, I don't think that we're in a space where like we are taking it all and there will be only one who survive. One thing I didn't mention in the introduction is I'm also the president of the Blockchain Game Alliance, which is a non-profit organization with over 90 members from the blockchain ecosystem. And new members who joined include Somnium Space, include Upland, and I've been having several conversations with CryptoVoxels. They should be joining. They are working to implement some voxel formats that are used by VoxEdit, for example. So on the contrary, I think that the space is still too small to see it as like a competitive space, and personally, and I think everyone in the space is walking with the spirit that we should help each other rather than compete very aggressively with each other. We have more to win altogether by being on this mindset. And I'm super excited when I see Decentraland that has this beta launch in February, and what are people making in CryptoVoxel, and the fact that it's just a team of one, Ben, or two people, I think now, building this and seeing all the finding their market through artists creating their galleries and organizing events, live meetups, etc. inside those world. So that's, I think, a very good example of possible use case in the Metaverse. with Sandbox, we have one differentiator. We'll be able to do live events, meetups, on art galleries that allows you to import your crypto art from NFTs, etc. I've already publicly communicated about those features in a roadmap. But we have one essential focus, which is the gaming aspect. That's our background, that we built Sandbox for 8 years on mobile and always thinking, how do we implement game mechanics and allow players to, have victory condition, lose condition, and all those traditional platforming, shooting, RPG kind of gameplays. And one of the key examples of this strategy is the partners we have in Sandbox. For example, as part of our third round of land pre-sale, we announced Atari is a gaming giant company as part of our partner. And Atari is going to build this virtual theme park inside the Sandbox platform, which I'm very excited about. They're also going to bring IPs like Pong, Super Breakout, Roller Coaster Tycoon, which are games that we've been growing with and show that like you will be able to play in our metaverse. Right from the look at our 2D map and seeing those logos, you already get it. And we also have among our investors Square Enix, which is also one of the pillar of the video gaming story with their key license, Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest Builder. So we can imagine that in the future they'll also be interested into creating games on our platform. And there's more big game companies that are coming to Sandbox, which I cannot yet name, but you can guess.
Dude, that's really exciting. I mean, especially when you got some of like the big gaming companies, pushing their chips into this too. Again, sort of curious from like the average user standpoint. I feel like there's a wide range in all of these, different components of the metaverse. From like, crypto voxels, you could just pop in with a link on your browser. You got Somnium Space that you got to download, a fairly bulky client, and it's really best viewed in like, with a headset. Even though I believe that you can also view it on a browser. But my understanding is also, it puts some strain on your hardware depending on what you're trying to access it from mobile or laptop, desktop, etc. So from a strict like user standpoint, like what's the ease of access to, like, let's say, Matthew sets up his arcade or something in Sandbox. Do I have to download something? Can I just click a link and hop in and hop out from there into one of these other platforms? Or what is like the ease of access that you guys are going for?
Well, we're adopting the same model as most games. So we are launching first on PC and Mac. So you can create games and you can play games from your desktop computer. And we also will be launching afterwards on the mobile platform. So you can play the games straight from your iPhone, Android device or tablet. I think the key question here is not necessarily the exact medium on which it runs to, but what's a requirement from a player's perspective to enter the game experience. And one thing to consider, beside the fact you have to download the client or its browser base, essentially is like, do you need a crypto wallet to enter the experience, or is it as simple as just create an email and account and you're in, just like those traditional MMORPG or like World of Warcraft or even Fortnite? And I think we have millions, hundreds of millions of gamers that have used to play this kind of game, go through just having an account with an email and password and accessing the game through either a desktop launcher or their mobile. And that's the experience the Sandbox will be providing as well.
Okay, so you're trying to do what a lot of these projects are doing in terms of like getting it's crypto based, but removing all of the difficult crypto stuff from it and just be able to have users access this, game in a way that they're familiar, accessing games that have similar economics, except this is just blockchain based and but it won't be very, very obvious to someone who just wants to hop on and play. Am I understanding that correctly?
Exactly. Like to the gamer eye, Sandbox is a game and blockchain is a technology. So they should benefit through what blockchain enables, essentially the true ownership of your content and the monetization. But it shouldn't be the first key requirement to enter the game or a blocker. So the moment where you'll be able to, where you will need to execute specific transaction on the blockchain, the player will be pushed as far as possible in the user experience, allowing you to test the game and enjoy it first without even having to think on the specifics of how it's running behind and what it means.
So I'm actually pretty curious about the actual gaming elements. Of course, there's going to be multiple games that are designed by the game developers that you partnered with, for example, Atari. I know Whale Shark is getting money allotted to design amazing things on his massive land holdings within the Sandbox. But when when everything is ready, or at least V1, and I guess that is slated for the end of the year. You can correct me if I'm wrong there. When a player goes into the Sandbox in either of these islands, are they allowed to go into every property? And then with the properties that have actual games on them, I'm wondering if you could provide an example of when a user, they could have a free to play experience, but then when would the moment be when they would need to kind of pay for something or carry out a transaction? How people would be able to play within the Sandbox?
There's many interesting questions here, but let me ask you first, are you a gamer?
I do play games. I'm not as deep or avid as a gamer as other people, but having gone to university in Korea, I'm very comfortable going to a PC방 and spending hours and hours and hours playing a PC-based game.
All right. So, what kind of game would you like to see in Sandbox? So, to take it as an example.
I mean, the game that I always go back to, I'm not sure if it's going to be appropriate for something like the Sandbox, is Battlefield. That is something that multiple friends and I wasted countless hours on strategizing, playing, and engaging in. But I mean, that's an extreme example. I'm open to hearing other counter examples.
Well, it's a great example, I think, first-person shooter games that you play. So depending on the version of Battlefield, started at 32, then went up to 64 and more concurrent users inside the land. So we'll be able to build FPS and also RPG and all sort of traditional PC games in our platform, and we want those games to be multiplayer from day one. So the user experience as a player entering the Sandbox Metaverse will be the following. We are going to launch around August of this year a beta of our game maker first that enables creators to build those games that they dream of and they want to players to come and play on our platform. Then later toward the year, after a couple of months that we have enough high quality content, curated game for players to enjoy, we'll be opening the doors to players to experiment these games. As a player, I'll be able to see the games that are open and available both from our map on the dashboard website at www.sandbox.game and from the game client. And from there, you'll be able to search for games. You'll be able to see the logos, the description, screenshot, some sort of like App Store or Steam Store or Epic Store approach of browsing game, but with the visualization of a map, where the location is going to be important as well. And by entering a game, you'll be able to join one of the multiplayer sessions happening in this game. So I think it's going to be quite similar in terms of experience to what you used to play with Battlefield, for example, which is a great example, and that's how it should be.
So in terms of like the parcels and how it all like fits together, are the individual parcels sort of like their own islands in the sense that like, you know, if I go to play Battlefield, I'm there, or is there like a point where if I walk far enough off the battlefield, I'm going to get hit with like a Tetris block or a Flappy Bird and like, or, you know, somebody else's parcel or something like that, or how does that work in the big world?
Yeah. So every game runs into its own land. So we are not one single persistent giant wall that you can cross from A to B and then experience all the different kind of games running simultaneously. Every game is hosting several instances of multiplayer games. Each server, let's say, hosting 32 or 64 players simultaneously, and then spawning a new instance when that first one is full, and so on. And as a player, you are limited to inside that game. So you're not going to see what's happening outside while you're playing into one of those instances simultaneously. That's more a limitation at the moment that exists into the capacity to run multiplayer games instance-based while rendering also what's happening potentially quite far away from the user site and into other multiplayer instances from neighbor games. But it's not impossible that in the future, as the computing power keeps growing, that we can enable that. The key focus is also let's make it sure that it's fast, it's fun to play already within one single game. And just like in Battlefield, when you are in that server map, you're not seeing what's happening into all the server maps right away just because you look at the limit of the map.
It sounds like it would be chaos otherwise. So I was just curious how you navigate that. So do you consider yourselves like sort of like you're creating your own universe, or do you see this as part of the larger metaverse in terms of like interoperability and stuff like that?
We definitely think that we are participating into a larger metaverse, and all the content that is being created with VoxEdit and tokenized on a marketplace as ERC 1155 can actually be used by other game developers into their own game. So they are not restricted already only specifically for the Sandbox game maker. And this added utility of all those non-fungible tokens is one step towards the interoperability. today we announced a partnership with a company called Crypto Kaiju as well, which maybe you heard about them. They are doing collectible vinyl toys, so physical objects that include an NFT as well. And they released a special edition of a Shiba dog called the Dog Gira. And this Dog Gira exists as a physical toy with its NFT, but also exists as a 3D voxel model that will be used inside Sandbox Metaverse. So every buyer of that dog, which I think they already sold out today, will also be entitled to receive an NFT that he can use into the Sandbox game maker and play with, which I think is quite exciting. Another great example is with another partner called B2 Expand with a game Light Trail Rush, which is like a futuristic race game where they take their spaceships, they voxelize them, and they have game capacity inside our Sandbox virtual world as well.
If I can add something to that as well, and again, I've mentioned that, but we do think that interoperability is absolutely key in our case. And I do think as well that it is one of the biggest strengths of, those blockchain games being interoperable between each other. But we also think that we should make it interoperable with existing games. So we have built already tutorials on how people should import and can already import their assets built into Minecraft using VoxEdit. So those kind of things are going, of course, to help us attract people from Minecraft into our games, but also allow to import assets into our games and make it also more interoperable, if I can say, not only to blockchain, to other blockchain games. So of course we are building a new metaverse, let's say, but we'll do everything that we can to allow for interoperability with other games, and not only from blockchain games, but any UGC should be able to, any UGC platform should be able to bring some value to what we create. And in the end, we are building a game, but also we are allowing, by providing the tools necessary, to anyone to create stuff, we are allowing basically the mass to potentially create within our metaverse, and those creations should not be limited only to our universe, our metaverse.
It's just like the scope and intention of everything that you guys are building. It's mind blowing in how immense and massive it is and sounds. There's just so many moving pieces. I'm curious from an organizational standpoint, like how big is the team that you have working on this together with you? I know there's a lot of partners on the outside who are developing many experiences and assets and elements of the game using the tools that you've built. But organizationally, how many people are on the core Sandbox team? And like in terms of distribution, I know like blockchain makes you global like immediately, but based on the 3 previous land sales, I'm curious if there's any like geographical areas that have kind of like jumped up to the front of the line as displaying more interest than other areas. I know last week when we tried to have our conversation, we mentioned Johan over here in Korea, who was managing what seemed like a pretty massive interested community. So I'm curious about it from the organizational standpoint, and then around the world, which pockets of the world are most interested in the Sandbox at this point.
At the moment, we are 40 people, with the largest part of the team, 26 people based in Buenos Aires, Argentina, 11 people in France, 2 in Korea, and 1 in Japan. So it's a sizable team, but considering indeed like the ambition and the vision of the project and the fact that we have 3 main products plus all the blockchain and crypto component, I still think it's relatively small per product. Yet we are already able to achieve amazing team thanks to our team. So that's all what's really been contributing to, I guess, part of all the excitement around the project. And this excitement, as you were mentioning, is happening in different regions of the world. And indeed, Asia is probably our primary market with Hong Kong, Korea, and Japan. To give you an example, we have a very active and engaged community in Korea that's led indeed by Yuan, our community manager based there. And I've been traveling there like 4 times last year and 2 times this year in 6 months. So being there almost every month, running events, having major partnership with key actors. So one of them being the SBA's Game Academy, which is a video game school that will be using the Sandbox to teach game making to their students. In a similar way, they have classes where they teach Unity and other engine. Now Sandbox is recognized as a legitimate game maker by their students and in their curricula. More recently, we announced a partnership with Sandbox Network, which is one of the largest Korean MCN, so YouTube Content Creator Network, where they work with hundreds of YouTubers that are playing, creating, and streaming through video games, Minecraft, and we'll also start building content and experience in Sandbox and stream about them in Korea. Also partnered with Game Talk, which is the largest mobile game community with based in Korea. So yeah, I'm really excited about Korea. Like this country has all the key ingredients that are likely to make Sandbox start and succeed first. It's a country, as you mentioned, has a strong gaming culture, but as well also have many users already familiar with crypto in general, and thanks to us, more and more familiar with non-fungible tokens and this new class of digital asset as well. Then in the rest of the world, Europe and US came as well in the top 10 countries based on our previous land pre-sale, showing that all around the globe we have people that are already looking at and excited in owning part of our metaverse and by what we are building.
You guys obviously know exactly what you're doing. I mean, it seems like, you got all the right people involved and have been super proactive in getting this stuff out there even before your like official launch. I'm just blown away, man. I'm more fascinated after this conversation than I was before, and I had been very interested in what you guys were doing. Curious to know, like, what we always ask, what else you got, what else people are collecting, and what's in your wallets, and are there other projects or games or anything that's like totally unrelated that you're stashing tokens of in your Ethereum wallets, or what else is got you curious that's going on in the NFT crypto space?
There's a lot going on. I'm very excited every time there's a new game that's about to launch on market or announcing a beta. I'm keen on going on and testing it. So, for example, today there's this new version of Crypto Wars, second version, which is like a PvP play to earn game where you play 20-minute long sessions fighting against other players in sort of like build your base, upgrade your buildings, produce more units, and send them to fight and loot resource. So it's quite an interesting game, and there's also titles like Skyweaver by Horizon Games that are currently in beta. It's trading card games, so similar to Hearthstone. or Golden Chain and other quite popular TCG games that use non-fungible tokens. Axie Infinity is a sort of Pokemon-like, where you grow, breed, and use those cute creatures to battle them. And now they have this new beta version on mobile where you can play against other players, earn and trade the resource you earn, which I think is also leading the way in terms of like play to earn and blockchain gaming, and I'm quite excited about. That's many to mention.
Yeah, I just signed up for Crypto Wars this morning as well. Excited to get into that after I wrap up the calls today.
See you there.
That's awesome. And then, well, to kind of wrap this up and let folks know like what the next steps are, I think letting everyone know what are the next steps leading up until the release that's maybe slated towards the end of the year. And then after you lay out those steps, kind of giving everyone your grand vision, maybe like 5 or 10 years into the future, where you see the entire metaverse kind of expanding to. I think that'd be a great way to wrap up.
Yeah, I'll let Sebastian do the vision for the next steps first. We will start distributing the game maker to our land owners, and to find some creators among those landowners that are willing to try out the product and start building with us. We've also, for months, been in contact with game creators that we're continue to work with them and make them try the product. So we are going to release, as mentioned, this pre-alpha version of our game maker to be released around the summer in an alpha stage to increase the creation on our platform. And we'll conduct as well. So that's for the game maker side. We'll also conduct like another sale of land. So we'll do a fourth round of land sale. And eventually by the end of the year, open the full metaverse, to sell as well. At least some parts of it to be followed. And by the end of the year, hopefully have the first public tribal version of maybe some games, or at the very least the game maker as mentioned. So to be followed closely. But maybe Sebastian can add some parts on that as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of work ahead of us to continue launching our product and announcing major partnership as we'll get closer to the launch. I think the big vision we have is to offer this truly decentralized economy where games and content are built and controlled by our community of users. How do we reach over 1 million monthly active users within Sandbox within the next 2 to 3 years? That's the first step goal, I would say, toward that vision. And within the decade, hopefully, have Sandbox on par with Minecraft and Roblox and be on the 100 million of active users. That will be amazing, of course. And when we reach that moment, we'll be laughing at like how people were maybe a bit hesitant or saying like blockchain didn't bring enough value for justifying games to be made and the new business model to be false, like play to earn as a replacement or complementary to free to play. So yeah, we are, that's what we're working on.
Boom. I love that vision. I love that. I can't wait for that moment to come. And I'm also a firm believer that it's on its way. Well, before we wrap up, just if there's any websites that our listeners need to pay attention to, that you need to shout out, any social channels that they need to be following to stay up to date on the latest announcements, I think that'll be the last question. Yeah,
so you can visit, of course, our website, which is sandbox.game. And you will find there as well all links to our social media. We have a very active Discord community with more than 10,000 followers over there, around 11,000 even, I think, currently. And all the news go out there first. And of course, we have an active Twitter channel. So I'd say visit our website, join the community on Discord, and also follow the Twitter for the latest announcements. And you will have more content, more explanations about the tokens and things we've talked about in our Medium, so our blog, so which you'll find at Sandbox game as well.
Awesome. And we'll make sure to link to all of those channels in the show notes. Well, Sebastian and Nathan, it was an absolute pleasure to dive deep into the Sandbox and the grand vision that you guys are helping to make a reality. Thank you so much for your time. And I'm really excited to see where you guys are taking this.
Thank you so much, guys. Great to be here.
Thank you so much for having us, allowing us to speak our vision and all the excitement around what we are building. And I'll be happy to follow up in a couple of months as we are about to launch to see where we are, give you some updates, etc.
That'd be awesome. Thanks again, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening to this week's episode. Just want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, Proof of Beauty. Proof of Beauty is an experimental digital experience studio. The blockchain is their canvas and the tokens are their brush. You can learn more about Proof of Beauty by checking out pob.studio. You can follow them on Twitter as well at PRRF Beauty. That's PRRF Beauty on Twitter, and pob.studio on their homepage to learn more about their projects like Hash, London, and Publico. Thank you, and see you in the next episode.